Hello, I'm Irina Baker, spiritual awareness mentor, and I'm here with my long-term client, Connie Cohn. Hi, Connie.
Hi, Irina.
Hi. Today we're going to talk about the changes that actually started, I guess, and happened because you made that decision. You found courage inside yourself and you decided I need to do something about what was bothering me before. I have this urgent concern and I want to fix it. And you came to me and you were satisfied with your results. So let's share with people, perhaps not going into details of your personal story, but in at least in general terms to share to motivate others that there are ways to fix their issues or problems or address their concerns by the spiritual work, spiritual growth. So let's talk about it. The first thing is, I would like to ask you, what is it that made you seek my service or made you seek me to help you with? So what was the issue that you needed to solve, and have you ever tried to solve it?
Well, I will start out by saying that I didn't know about you or what you did. I happened to be invited to a live event by a friend. So I view this whole connection as very serendipitous. I came that day with the intent of being open to learning something new. And by the end of your session, I knew I had to work with you. Your approach to things, the topics that you brought up, were all things I'd thought about in the last 6 to 12 months. And your style resonated with me. You have a very relaxed, warm approach. And I had a lot of fears that were overlapping everything in my life, making my decisions very difficult because I was afraid of either success or failure, whichever direction I was going. And as a result, it was affecting relationships, it was affecting work, and my finances became part of that. And I needed someone to guide me through that. And I knew after hearing you for an afternoon that you'd be the person to do that.
You said it eloquently, Connie. You said both successes, fears of success and failure, both. So it is not just one per se fear, it's usually a whole conglomerate of everything that keeps us back or holds us back and limits us, right?
Right.
So you mentioned that you were stuck. Could you elaborate on that?
I had tried different routes to change my thinking. I had a gratitude journal. I watched any TV show that was focused on spirituality or emotional growth, and read books. But many times I would start the process of reading a book and it would get too hard and I would take a break and I wouldn't go back to it. So I wasn't completing the work. And I needed someone to walk me through that and help me see what was blocking my path. And you were that person.
So you would agree that reading metaphysical or spiritual and books is very helpful, very motivational. However, you cannot learn to play the piano by reading about playing the piano, right?
I tried.
That's right, you did. Okay, so let's talk about specific areas of your life that you did get change. And we actually I came up by accident because I was just creating new exercises for my clients, for you guys, and I by accident stumbled upon the idea to measure our success by scale. So from the scale from 1 to 10, you stated, so we have completed it twice. You made from, as before it was numbers 1, 2, and 3 on my scale, you indicated now you've progressed to 7, 8, and 9. That's quite 9 and 10 actually. That's quite impressive. Anything you want to comment on that, and then we will go to specific areas.
Well, that was a surprise to me because we did work on the questionnaire toward the end of our sessions, and it was a 3-month span of time. And when you're in the middle of it from week to week, you don't see the progress. But seeing those numbers spelled out, I was amazed. And it's a gradual learning, it's a gradual understanding. And as you're going through the steps, there's emotional aspects because you're dealing with things that you don't want to deal with. And but seeing that end result was so satisfying.
I didn't need to persuade you that you have changed. You will just see the results later, right? You
Right?
saw them yourself.
Even if I wasn't aware of the change, to see that or experience that was just confirmation.
That's right. Okay, so now let's talk about fears. How was it before and after with fears? And I would love you to mention the number that you gave me without even me asking about that percentage.
Ah. For me, I was raised in an environment where parents, in particular mother, was afraid of many things. And so that translated down to all of us. So when I would go out and, for instance, in a new job situation, I would be afraid on a daily basis until I got comfortable with it. If I would do well, if I would accomplish what I needed to accomplish, if I would be worthy of being given that opportunity. And during our sessions, I learned to understand why I viewed things that way, and be aware as those triggers came up, kind of step back and observe them and see that it was my drama of a situation that many times didn't even exist. And once I saw that, I was able to address it very quickly and move forward. And it made a huge difference in my everyday life.
What's the percentage you would say?
I have improved at least 70% at this point over a
We're
period
talking about
of 3 months.
right, we're talking about 3 months, and we're talking about long-standing fears, right?
Right?
That you couldn't clear before, and in 3 months they improved, the
Exactly.
situation improved. That's quite remarkable. So we will discuss today finances, relationships, and business side or professional side. So basically, actually, take any subject first and start talking about it.
Well, interestingly, from the financial perspective, I started noticing changes within the first few weeks, but I didn't see the connection until they started growing. For instance, I had a money situation that had been going on for 6 months where a company owed me money and was not saying that they owed it to me. They were playing innocent about it. I knew it was owed to me. It was a large amount, and I kept pursuing it, but I wasn't getting anywhere. And finally, I took a different path, and within 48 hours, it was resolved. And I was to the point where I was almost ready to give up. But somehow, in the course of our talking and my realizing that I had the power to make that change, I just needed to pursue it in a different way. That gave me the confidence to move forward with it, and it was resolved. So there was that.
And not only confidence, but also the how, right? How do you approach the situation? Because if you've been doing it the same way before and you couldn't have done it, I mean, there was no result, then we were learning specific ways of how to address situation. Even though it's a money situation, we addressed it spiritually through the spiritual insight about the situation and taking specific steps. So that would help you to resolve it so nicely and to your great benefit, right?
Exactly.
That's nice. Keep talking. You're sharing great information.
There also was the financial aspect with the job that I took. It was a part-time job. It was the purpose of it was just to get me out of the house, make a little extra money. I thought it would be fun, but it became apparent very soon that there was a lot more involved, and I was just about ready to quit because I was not enjoying it. and they gave me a raise, which was unexpected. But when you're getting more money, you don't always walk away from it. So I stayed a little bit longer. And I finally realized that I was becoming a hamster in the wheel. I was staying there only for the money. There was no enjoyment. There was no passion for it. I wasn't learning anything else. I had my purpose for being there was done. And I finally had the confidence and the strength to say, I am done. Thank you very much. And I walked away from it.
And in this case, I would say, and we discussed that, you agreed with it, that you didn't run away. Before, you would just run away in terms of, okay, I don't like it, I need to leave and find something else, right?
Right.
But this way, you knew why you were doing it, you knew the reason, you got the insight. So you were doing it in a spiritual, again, with spiritual awareness, with a new way of approaching situations. And that's why I said you left with honors, meaning when I usually say you left with honors, that
Right.
means the situation was done spiritually, you finished there, and you were free, or you are free to move on. So that's big difference from just leaving the situation and running away, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. What can you say about the sole purpose? Because before that job you were in, it had nothing to do with your soul mission, with your life mission. You just had it for money, like you said, or something to do, but not really thinking or aligning your path with what you're supposed to do. So how is it now?
Completely different. Interestingly, the sole purpose that came up in our discussion is something that I have had in my heart since my early 20s. And I have periodically thought about doing it. In fact, when I first retired from my corporate job, many people said, "Are you going to do that?" I said, "Yeah, I might." But as I got into it and started investigating and actually working with the details, I made the mistake of sharing information with a few people, and they immediately came back with negatives, which I took to heart, and I became disillusioned with that route. And yet the idea of it still came around periodically. And so when we discussed it and narrowed it down to that being what I was meant to do, I knew it right away because it had been there all along. I just talked myself out of it. So now I have a new perspective and a new enthusiasm for it. And I look forward to seeing what happens next.
And it's a liberated feeling because you don't need to shoot in the dark looking for a job, because you have a direction. Whether you decide to follow that direction or not, that's a different story, but you have a clear perspective on what your potential is, what's possible, and you have a choice, and you can make that choice, not based on fear that, oh, I have to look for a job because I need some money, but instead you have a choice to really either to follow your potential or get a job. So it's liberating to me, right?
Very. And I could never go back to what I did before on any level because I now know why I was doing it. And to create an environment where you're not happy and you're doing it for the wrong reasons makes no sense to me anymore.
Exactly, fear-based reasons,
Right.
and that's not the way we live our life, or we need to live our lives. Okay, very good. And how about the relationships?
Relationships have also improved because what I learned was in many situations, probably in all situations, if I'm not happy with something that's going on in a relationship, I have to look within, not at the other person. And that was a really hard thing to accept and understand. But once I saw that, I started being very observant of my behavior and what I needed to do to change that to improve relationships. And I've seen changes immediately, and it just gets better every day.
And as I always say, that you can change another person by changing yourself. So you don't need to go and bug another person, but you change inside, the other person changes because it's actually your change that you are reading from them through the energy. Is that correct?
Mhm.
That's what happened?
Exactly. And it seems so easy if you're willing to look at, your own issues.
Exactly. It's very easy if you're willing to accept that it's all about me, right? It's me, me, me. That's what we're learning here. To be selfish. It's all about me. And I'm joking and laughing about it because the word selfish is very different in connotation. That's what we imply here. We
Right.
imply that we take responsibility. This is not selfish. This is just being responsible.
Exactly.
Very good. And how about, well, we already discussed the finances, that they really, if they actually improved, that we discussed the relationships improved, and occupational side, the soul mission part improved. So any comments that you would like to make generally about everything?
I'll just say that for me, and maybe for most people, in any kind of situation where you're working with a mentor or a guide, um, and it is difficult to look at your own issues, for me personally, to have someone uh, call me out when I'm not being truthful with myself, or point out things about me that I needed to look at, I would always get defensive and I would dig my heels in, and I would um, sort of turn a blind eye to whatever was being shared with me. You have a way of making us look at issues in a calm, peaceful environment, and I could do that. It was very easy for me to, or easier for me to look at things that needed to be addressed because of the way you approach it and your patience and your guidance. So I thank you for that, because I'm not sure I could have done it with someone else.
Thank you, Connie. I always say that it's a partnership. I could have not done anything, like you said, you would turn a blind eye before, but to me, you were ready for that drastic change in your life. So when the student is ready, the teacher shows up, like I literally showed up out of the blue, right, in your life.
Right? Right?
And definitely, and that's why you were there, not a minute late. You were doing your work, you were doing your home assignments, you were 100% devoted, committed to your change, to your transformation. And to me, that's the reason you've been such a successful example that what's possible. So I'm blessed with you as my client, and it's an honor to have been working with you. One more thing before we stop. You mentioned that you expressed that you would like to continue working with me. Why would that be the case?
I'm at a point where I know I've attained a certain level. I know there's more to do for me. There's more growth opportunities. And I think in my future endeavors, your guidance would see me through to the finish line, so to speak. I have a strong feeling about that.
And that's exciting because not only for me is that I have such a wonderful client, but also I am proud that you want to continue. You want to really, you're still committed and you will be committed. So you will get to the finish line, whatever that finish line is for you. So, all right. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening. I hope you were motivated and inspired by personal example. So you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you around. Thank you so much, Connie, and I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.